Good grief, it took me forever to get online. I had to switch cameras. I had to switch to my private internet. So, hopefully things will work out. I'm going to my channel to proof it, and let's see if it's any better. Let's see if it's any better. Okay. It it's not the best picture on this camera. This is camera number 2. So I ordered another mic from Amazon, and they sent me a mic for an iPhone. I don't I don't buy any Apple products, and I'll tell you why. Because the Apple products are made in China in sweatshops, and the people in those factories are sleeping on the floor. Those people are sleeping on the floor, and they in some of the factories. Oh gosh, it's very uncomfortable being bedridden 24/7. And the other day, I got stuck in my wheelchair. Man Raj was yelling at me, and I turned around in the wheelchair at the wrong spot in my room, and the wheelchair acts like it has a will of its own, and it turned both wheels out. Both wheels turned. One got stuck on the refrigerator, and the other got stuck on my pantry shelving. And I told Raj, I said, "What's up, Grizzly?" I said, "I'm stuck." And he panicked and ran off and left me stuck. So I had no choice. I had no choice but to flop out of the wheelchair and crawl on the floor, and then crawl over to my bed, get the cane, and grab the wheelchair, pull it sideways to me. "What's up, Cooper? What's up, Roman?" And Mr. Beast. And man, I grabbed that daggone wheelchair. I wanted to beat it to death. And I didn't have my help I've fallen button. I didn't have that. And you don't want to use it anyway, because if I had pressed the button, if I had pressed the button and you become a problem, they urge you to go into a nursing home. And I used to work at a nursing home, and people in nursing homes don't necessarily DIE of abuse, but they do DIE of neglect, because it's not possible for one person to take care of 15 people. So that's what happened yesterday, and it's made me very sore today. I'm like an 8 out of 10. I'm 8 out of 10 on the pain scale. The talk I wanted to have was about these people. They say that they're for democracy and they're for freedom, but J.D. Vance was supposed to have a get together. Yeah, I got off the island. Isn't that wonderful? Do you want me? I'll do Gilligan for you one time. You want Gilligan? I'll do Gilligan one time. and then that's it. So, Gilligan, Gilligan, Gilligan. So I'm not doing Gilligan. I'm not doing Gilligan again now. I don't drink. Where are my moderators? Where are my moderators at? So, J.D. Vance, the running mate for Orange Man Bad, he went into a restaurant in Pennsylvania to get with some people and have a sit down, one of those town hall things, and they kicked him out of the restaurant. Let me back up. J.D. Vance restaurant. So, Preminente Brothers restaurant, and it says J.D. Vance was shunned. J.D. Vance was shunned by the restaurant. So, in any case, what happened was a bunch of people got online, and they decided to have a town hall meeting at this Preminente restaurant. Yeah, Preminente Brothers. Okay, so in any case, they went to the restaurant. They're waiting for Vance, the next VP to be, and they're waiting for Vance. And when the owner found out, he told him that J.D. Vance could not come in the restaurant, and he used the excuse that it would overload his serving staff. But the restaurant, if you look at the video, is not that full. So when the people found out that the guy from Primanti Brothers was not going to let Vance in, well, naturally, that that threw a wrench in everything. So the people paid for their drinks and then canceled their food orders. And being the freedom-loving, open-minded, progressive that he was, the restaurant owner took pictures, got out his phone and took pictures of the people as they were walking out into the parking lot to meet with J.D. Vance. And then he threatened them with calling the police. He said, if you go out there to meet with J.D. Vance, you're never coming in this restaurant again. So my deal is, I wouldn't eat anything from Primanti Brothers. The whole thing about, him saying that his staff was overwhelmed and all that other stuff. The people already had their drinks, okay? And if if you, basketball and beyond, if you love spending $50 on eggs, thank a Democrat. The whole thing is a mess. And I'm going to tell you more of what's more a mess. But in any case, let me finish this thing with Primanti Brothers. So naturally, the people being denied their guest speaker, for their little club or get together or town hall, they paid for their drinks and they decided to leave respectfully without chanting or doing a sit-in or anything. So they're leaving quietly and respectfully. They're like, well, if you won't let Vance in, there's no reason for us to stay. So they canceled all their food orders, and Primanti Brothers, the guy starts taking pictures of the people, you know, I think they should be sued for that. That's like a breaking the RICO law. You know, you're going to take pictures of these people and bar them from the restaurant just because you wouldn't let this one person in that you don't like. So naturally, they canceled their orders. They walked out. I would have also. He was like, you walk out, you never walk back in. Oh, well, there are other pizza places. So now you would think that Vance would be all nasty and all. And this is the stuff that the mainstream media is not telling you. JD Vance paid the restaurant for everyone there's meals, okay? He paid for all of their meals, and he bought the BS lie that their staff was overloaded, okay? And he left a tip, and he told the crowd, don't hold it against the restaurant, okay? He said, don't hold it against the restaurant. He didn't take the opportunity to slam anybody. He was a true gentleman, okay? So they didn't let him come in. He paid for everybody's meals, left a tip, and left a good word of kindness for the restaurant. Okay, well, maybe you're having a bad day, and I believe your BS lie that you're overloaded. But you know, if somebody comes to hear the VP, the next VP to be, potentially, and the restaurant says they're overloaded. Now, you know, people wouldn't care about their chicken wings and their their stuffed potato, whatever. They could have put out breadsticks or, bread and butter or something for the crowd to snack on while they were trying to get caught up with the orders. But like I said, there wasn't that many people there. Now, and I believe JD is a good guy. I believe he is a good guy, And of course, they make fun of him being a hillbilly like he's JD Clampett and all this other crap. So, you like my hat. My hat goes years back. And Rogue says, do you think we're going to WAR? I absolutely think we are going to WAR. And the reason being, I had a dream, and most of my dreams come true. I had a dream that Persia firing all these rockets into Israel. One of the rockets, for whatever reason, whether it was shot down or whatever, ran into the Dome of the Rock and just totally obliterated the Dome of the Rock. I've had that dream 3 times now where they're shooting rockets into Israel, okay? And for whatever reason, a rocket falls and it hits the Dome of the Rock and totally obliterates that place. And that is the beginning of WW3 for real and in earnest. The gloves are off and each side's blaming the other. The Persians are saying, well, it wasn't their rocket. And of course, Israel's like, well, it wasn't ours. We don't fire rockets at ourselves. And I think when that happens, that's going to be the real start of WW3. So, do you think they will invade us? Interesting that you should say that, Rogue, because I believe that eventually Russia will take Alaska back. Russia sold Alaska to the United States in the 1860s something for $7 million. And they feel that they were cheated now, of course, because they know about all of the natural resources in Alaska. And Alaska is only like 50 miles. Alaska is only like 50 miles from the bear country. So, uh, uh, what was that lady's name that ran for president with John McCain? Uh, and she said that she said she could see Russia out her back door. She said that as a metaphor. And of course, everybody branded the lady an imbecile and all that. But believe me, if you're in a place like Alaska and there's nothing but wilderness, 50 miles is not 50 miles is not a long distance. Okay, so well, the person who collected the money when the Twin Towers fell was Larry the Rat. Larry the Rat, and there's so much there. We can't go off topic on that because there's too much to talk about. Okay, but in any case, I believe that Russia will take back Alaska at some point in the future. I believe that when America finally fractures in the upcoming years, that Texas will be its own country again. Now, for those of you that don't know history, Texas used to be their own country. They have their own oil, they have their own gold, and they have their own electrical grid. Okay? So, I live in Maryland. I live in Maryland. Uh, it was wiped off of the description line when I did the video. So, um, I don't know if I'm being shadow banned or whatever, but when I go to make a video, I'll look it up and it'll say unlisted or private, you know. So make sure all of you people, so many of you, and I've only got 2 thumbs up, come on and give me at least a thumbs up. I don't charge any super chats. I don't monetize my channel. I try to get back to everybody in the comments section. What more can you ask? You know, I'm thinking in 3 languages, and I don't require that you sub in order to comment. So, Gracie, I'm getting to everybody, but you have to understand when you type in the comments in 3 seconds and I'm 5 minutes behind in what we're talking about, I'm sorry, I can't get right to you in an ambulance, with sirens and everything saying shout out to Gracie. So just relax, take it easy, take a breath. So, Bat Boy, I'm going to report that as hate speech in a second. You need to retract that. You need to retract that. And I'm going to put you in timeout. So, fam, when you type something in the internet, remember that it's permanent. You can retract it. But if you type something racist or hateful, it's there. It's in the cloud. You can't pull it back. And believe me, you go to buy a house or a job, get a job, they look that stuff up. So you shoot yourself in the foot when you hop on somebody's channel and and type in something hateful or racist. So getting around to what I was saying, all right, J.D. Vance was a gentleman. He paid for the people's meals, left a tip for the restaurant, and bought their BS story that there wasn't room for him and that their servers were overloaded and their car had a flat tire and their dog died and the power went out and all the other 1,100 excuses that the people gave. But like I said, the guy from the restaurant took pictures of the people as they walked out, saying that they will never ever walk into his business ever again, I would be totally fine with that. I would be totally fine with that. So, in any case, I would make sure the next time that I got on the internet and had a meeting at Primanti Brothers restaurant, I would get every blue-haired progressive freak that I could. I would get that place packed with every blue-haired whistle-blowing freak that I could, and then I would find some topic, you know, like maybe Orange Man Bad is going to come by and get the people all riled up and let them enjoy that as the people, do a sit-in and start chanting and blowing whistles and, getting on their bullhorn and yelling right in somebody's ear with the bullhorn. Let them enjoy that. But no, these people, these J.D. Vance people, they walked out dignified, they walked out quietly, single line, and they put up with the BS of this restaurant taking a mugshot of them, which again, they could probably turn around and sue that restaurant because of the RICO law. But that's where you're strong arming somebody, by the way, the RICO law. So, in any case, getting to the big deal. The big deal is not Trump. It's not Trump, 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 and the election. The election is going to make nothing about nothing, okay? What's up, Barack? So, the election is not going to be anything about anything. It's not going to make any difference at all, okay? So you might as well forget that. And the mainstream media is telling you that only 30 people DIED'd from this hurricane. That's not truth. The deal is they are missing thousands of people. Entire towns were wiped out. Entire towns were wiped off the map. Okay? They're sending independent ministries are calling for refrigeration trucks for the bodies. They're calling for cadaver dogs to look for all of the people that are still crushed under buildings. I already did the Gilligan, okay? If you want to see the Gilligan, wind the video back. I'm not doing it again. This is too important. Can you imagine being in that hurricane and the house collapses on top of you and then the water starts to rise? And so you were in your attic and all of a sudden the house collapses and your attic is now in the basement and the water's slowly rising around you and it's coming up to your mouth and then your nose, and then that's it. Everything goes. And there are thousands of people like that they're looking for to drag their bodies out from under the rubble. No, I'm not doing any impressions. You don't understand the importance of what I'm talking about. You're either a child or a very immature adult. And by the way, my channel is Adult Chat. If you are a kid, you do not belong on my channel. My channel is Adult Chat, okay? So it is not a kid's channel. So in any case, the admin, when the reporters asked Slow Joe what he had done about getting some help to this hurricane devastation area, he said, well, I've been on the phone for 2 hours. Well, la-di-da, la-di-da. So, in any case, the independent ministries have gone down there to help out. And one of them I want to feature. But I want to say another thing real quick. No, I don't have a boat anymore. My boat was called the Gypsy. And no, we don't have it anymore. I'm not going into that. So I'm going to put you in timeout if you keep being knuckleheaded. You know, either you want to listen to what I'm talking about, which is important, or you can go back to watching SpongeBob in your underwear. Doesn't make any difference to me. God will still love you. I'll still love you and all that other stuff. But I'm going to stay on topic. This is too important. So a couple of channels have said that right before the hurricane hit, that there were planes in the air, possibly cloud seeding to make the weather worse. If you go to channels like Monkey Works, MONKEYWERX, or NY Prepper, they'll tell you where all of the doomsday planes have been. And we are right on the edge of WW3. Everybody's got their finger on the button. The whole election thing is nothing but smoke and mirrors, okay? It's nothing but smoke and mirrors. And like I said, I can't verify this, but 2 channels on YT have said that planes were in the air seeding the clouds to make the weather worse than it should have been. Okay, so mainstream media is talking about 30 people have lost their lives. That's absolute provable lie. It's in the thousands of people that are missing. Thousands of people. All right. One of the great ministries that you should look up is Bear Independence channel. Bear Independent, he's the owner of Refuge Medical, okay? And he's got a family. And he's a volunteer. And he's a pastor. And he's going down to load trucks full of food and all that other stuff and help out. But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. As we find out today, the trucks full of water and blankets and food have gone down there into the hurricane zone, and some obtuse idiot people are turning the trucks away. Now they're coming into a disaster area. The people have lost everything, and the trucks with food and water and blankets are being told they can't come in there because they're not residents. Now, this whole thing smells fishy, and I'm going to tell you why. Because people who are residents or were residents who have lost their home and everything, they're told, A, they're not going to be able to rebuild their home, all right? They're not going to be able to rebuild it, and the insurance company is not going to insure them, and so they can't rebuild again with no insurance. It's all a land grab, okay? And what they want to do, they want to do like Marxist, communist, socialist countries. They want to do away with single-family homes. They want to pack everybody like sardines into these god-awful looking high-rises. And then you got a 15-minute city, no cars, no traffic, food deserts, and you better behave yourself or you're going to starve. Simple as that. No driving a car, everything's got to be within 15 minutes walking distance, and you better behave yourself, or else if a store moves out of your area and you don't have a grocery store, you're not going to be able to drive or anything anyplace else. Total Marxism, and it's coming your way. It's coming your way. So if you want to help out, You can help out Bear Independent. His ministry is called Grindstone Ministries. All right. And Grindstone Ministries is 807 West Broadway Street, Spiro, Spiro, Oklahoma, 74959. And shame on me, I'm using the phone that's got the phone number, so I can't look it up. I can't look it up. Phooey. I switched phones because the camera on the other phone was acting up. I've been trying different microphones and everything to improve the quality of my channel. And that's where I'm at, is trying to make do with what I have. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I've taken absolutely every dime that I can afford to this month and put it to different charities that are trying to help people in the hurricane disaster zone. Okay? So, another very good ministry and channel is the Grand Supreme News Channel, or the Real GS News. Luis Santiago. He works 2 jobs. He has 3 channels, 6 kids, and he lives down in Florida in the hurricane zone. And God spared those folks down there. And like I said, Tennessee and Georgia got slammed the most. I have relatives in Georgia, so I've been trying to find out about them, and no word, because the cell phones and everything are still down. So working with the little bit of money that I have, last time there was a disaster, I bought a generator to send down to Louisiana, but not having the money this time, I just bought one of those power inverters that you click onto your car battery, and it makes 1,500 watts of power for your house, enough to keep a couple of refrigerators going, or a refrigerator and an air conditioner, that type of thing. That's the most that I could do. And unfortunately, a very evil person has been spoofing my channel using my picture and a very close channel name in order to extract views and possibly money from people that normally would find my channel more easily. So if anybody asks you for money and they're using my picture and they want money from Patreon or Cash App, that is not me. That is not me. What I do is I pray for what I need, and usually the good Lord will move on somebody to go to my Amazon link and get me the very little things that I need, like diapers and old people bed pads and stuff like that you need when you're bedridden and in the winter of life. So, very evil person too. What's up, Laura? Laura, thank you for the goodie package. I just got it today, and Amazon has changed the notification to where you cannot send a thank you back. I guess they don't want to pay for the they don't want to host or pay for the messaging fee. But you can't send a thank you back anymore. So I'm glad that you're here on channel for me to thank you personally. So, all right. So in any case, Bear Independent is the man's channel. I think his wife's name is Brittany. He's got a beautiful new baby. Beautiful baby. all of this stuff that he's still doing ministry wise and all. And he doesn't look like he's had an hour of sleep. I've been up since 3 o'clock yesterday morning. I haven't been able to sleep. I haven't been able to eat. I've been in horrible pain, about an 8 out of 10 on the pain scale. My best friend took a crap on me the other day, left me in my room, stuck in my wheelchair, and ran out like a coward, and didn't help me. You know, he could have reached down with his foot and kicked the wheel of the wheelchair to where it wasn't stuck anymore. But instead, he ran out like a coward, and I had to flop onto the floor, crawl over to the bed using just my upper body strength, crawl up on the bed, get my cane, crawl back over to the wheelchair, curse it, and drag it sideways to me, and then try between getting up on the bed and the wheelchair to get back into the wheelchair. And oh man, did it hurt. Oh man, it felt like I had the crap beat out of me by somebody I back talked to. All because somebody that I thought was my good friend, you know, panicked and ran out when I told him the wheelchair was stuck, as if I was going to have him tow the chair or something, with a rope over his back or something. I don't know what his thinking is. He won't even have the guts to answer a text message today. And that's on top of me giving him a very nice gift of appreciation this month for running to the store for me and that kind of stuff. You know, what a shame when a friendship dies. But apparently it was never there in the first place. Maybe I knew that. Maybe I knew that deep down. But if you knew a handicapped person was stranded, would you walk out and just shut the door on them and leave them? The last time I had that happen was when I went to the hospital and they gave me passive, it's a very beautiful term, passive elderly care. Sounds gentle, sounds comforting. No. What it means is you take the old person that people don't want to spend any more money on, you push them into an isolation room, okay? You don't give them any water. You don't give them any way of taking their medicine. You don't hook them up to a monitor, because the monitor would prove that you're ignoring the person while their stats get worse and worse and worse. And then when you come back in a couple hours and the person has passed away, all you have to do is sign your name on the toe tag and then claim the person passed away from whatever malady you need to get approval from by the gov. Okay, if you need more people to have DIED'd from the coughity cough, that's what you say the person passed from. They weren't monitored. Nobody was allowed to see the person. You don't know how they slowly, choked out, or they stroked out, or their blood pressure went too high or too low, And that is the lies that we tell each other in our society. Passive elder care, and it's coming your way. That's what those commercials are about. Those commercials with the old people, and the old person faces the camera and said, I have lived a good life. They're saying, well, it's time to be terminated so that their carbon footprint, doesn't interfere with one of these whistleblowing, bullhorn using blue-haired, mobsters. They're mobsters. They all get in a mob and yell at people, and then people like me who are elderly, and we know how life is, and we try and help the young people by telling them what pitfalls to avoid. They're like, oh, come on, Gramps. You don't deserve a meal. You don't deserve water. You might as well pass, and we'll plant you in the ground with no box or anything and make you fertilizer for a tree, just like that Twilight Zone. What was that Twilight Zone called? It was called Springfield or Fernwood or something like that, where they used the people as fertilizer if they didn't get along. So these people think outside the box, fam. They're Fabian socialists, they're Marxists, they're evil as all get out. Like Hillary and her girlfriend that do spirit cooking, where they use urine and feces and all that other stuff. They use semen, urine, feces, blood, and they call it spirit cooking, and they wipe it on walls and make incantations, and they play in it themselves. That used to be known as scat. When you rub crap on each other, that's playing in scat. Nasty. And then, they hop in the shower and it's all good, and, come back as your first lady, first lady of Brother Bill of the Order of the Stained Dress, if you know what I mean. I'm not going to explain that if you don't understand. I'm going back to the 90s and referencing that. But these people are sick. They'll have a great big 3 or 4 foot cake made in the image of a baby, and then they'll chop that cake up and stand around sticking forks in it, eating that cake, and they have like antlers on their heads, or they'll have one eye covered, or they'll have devil horns, or a bird cage, all this Illuminati symbolism that they use, and they're going to burn in hell someday. They always, whenever these politicians die, they put them in a coffin, and they do what's called lying in state, so everybody goes by and they take a photo op. Oh, I was there when so-and-so passed. Aren't I a wonderful person? Weren't they wonderful? And they're giving lip service to God, giving these monsters the right of Christian burial, and they think that that's fire protection for eternity. Nope, they're going to wind up in hell, and there's not going to be any excuse, like this guy Jerry Nadler, who said that God wasn't even worth mention on the floor of the U.S. Congress. So we don't talk about God here, none of that foolishness. Well, he'll find out at his last heartbeat how foolish it was. But in any case, fam, that's the real deal. Channels I watch to find out the real deal is Gravitas Weon. That's the Indian news channel. They have no reason to lie about the U.S. news, like our reporters. You go from channel to channel, and they're all saying the same thing. Gigglin's great. Orange Man still bad. Blah, blah, blah. Vote. Immigrants wonderful. No illegals are going into apartment complexes and kicking in people's doors and robbing them or extorting their rental money or any of that. That's all just in your mind, okay? So trust and believe things are going to magically get better, even if you still vote for the same pukes that we've had in office for the last coming up on 4 years. People who said they were going to unify the country, bring everybody together, except for the evil white supremacist men. You know, all evil, all white men are supremacists and evil. I've heard that before. As a child 60 years ago, sitting in Catholic school, we were taught that people of color were marked that way by God for denying Christ, all right? And they were marked that way so that people could harass them and shame them and all of that. Horrible thing to teach children gender confusion and wokeism and white supremacy and all, you know, this white supremacist stuff, which is all a bunch of crap, you know. Most Americans want to get along, and we could get along if we're not being put at each other's throats by jobs being limited and being given to people who come into the country, and they get free food, free lodging, free plane trips, free bus fare, phones, hotels, you know, credit cards, all this other stuff. And oh, by the way, not this June, but last June, uh, the powers that be, the progressives, took away $294 of my fixed income benefits so that they could pass it along to people coming into the country. And so I said, well, ma'am, that EBT card was how I buy my food, okay? That's how I eat. And the lady was like, well, we interviewed you and you don't need it. I said, you never talked to me. That's a total lie. And when they said they interviewed me, they didn't even put down my amount of rent that I pay or any of that. They put on the form zero, that the old man has zero expenses, and so we can take away all of his benefits, and he can find another way to eat. So I went a long time, beans and rice, ramen, and oatmeal, beans and rice, ramen, oatmeal, spaghetti, beans and rice, you know. And so finally, I got a wellness check call from some lady, and she signed me up for Meals on Wheels of Central Maryland, and it's donated food that they repurpose. So they find food from like restaurants and all that other stuff, and they repurpose it. It's something to eat, you know. And they ask for a donation, and they don't hassle you if you don't have the money on a particular month or anything. They come by and do a wellness check, knock on the door, give you this repurposed food and a good word, you know, kindness and all of that. Very nice people. If you want to donate to them, it's Meals on Wheels of Central Maryland, and you can donate as little as $5. And they work with the handicapped, the elderly, the disabled. Nice, good people. But like I said, it's a second and third time around food that's been repurposed. And, you know, you have companies now like that dog food company, and it's like farmers food or something, and it's real food for dogs. All those places do is they find something like a cruise line or a smorgasbord restaurant, and then they buy up, they ask for donations of the scraps, you know, the old chicken and roast beef and carrots and lima beans and string beans that nobody wants and they can't serve again. And then they put it into a food processor and give it to dogs. So, like I said, I've been eating repurposed food for some time now, you know, and it tastes good when you're hungry. I can tell you, when you're hungry enough, when you're hungry enough, that repurposed food tastes good. I don't eat a lot anyway anymore. When you get into the winter of life, the body starts shutting down and you get this real horrendous appetite for sleep and and not so much for food anymore. And I have to set 2 alarms to get up and take my medicine. The way I handle that is I don't go to bed until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning when I've taken my last dose of medicine for the day. That way I can't accidentally oversleep my medicine and underdose and pass away in my sleep. So it's like living on death row every day of your life, wondering if tonight's going to be the night or tomorrow is going to be uh, your last day. But, but I ask God to forgive me through Jesus Christ of my sins. And it says in God's word, He's faithful and just to forgive me of my sins, cleanse me of all unrighteousness. So I know absolutely that when the time comes, I will be going to heaven. And you can know that too. You can know that too the same way. You say, well, PopPop, how do I know if I've sinned? Anything that displeases God is sin. All right. Now these channels that talk very smoothly and sweetly and soothing, that we're all in God's station wagon on our way to the mall for a hot fudge sundae. And even if you have a little bit of the light, you're good to go. No, the Holy Spirit does not slum. Okay, they are misquoting a scripture that talks about the inherent knowledge of God and good and evil, and that if you're on a deserted island, you still know KILLING is wrong, stealing wrong, getting with your neighbor's wife wrong. Even if you have a bone through your nose and a plate in your mouth, there's the inherent knowledge of good and evil in all of us, okay? It's the witness of God Almighty. And so when they say that people have a little bit of the light, they're misquoting that. That's what that scripture is talking about. People who haven't heard the gospel of Jesus Christ. But they will mention sin, but they won't be specific because they will lose subs to their channel. They will be demonetized and all that other stuff. I don't charge super chats. My channel's not monetized. There's no obnoxious commercial. I get with people on the comments section. Okay. I care about everybody. I love on everybody. I do the best I can, all right, to explain to people the real deal about soul salvation and the fact that not as many people as you would think are going to go when the trumpet sounds. Okay? The other people, the Joel Osteens that say all paths lead to God, no. God made a very expensive way back to himself through Jesus Christ and his death, burial, and resurrection. You say, well, PopPop, I still don't understand what sin is. Okay, sin is disobeying God. God says he hates hands that shed innocent blood. That would be those of you that work in clinics getting young ladies to come in and let you scrape their baby out of their belly like seeds out of a pumpkin to throw it into the trash or to sell it to a cosmetic company. Don't count on going to heaven, all right? And I don't fault or judge any lady that was tricked into that by her baby daddy who said, we don't need to use protection. I'm always going to be there for you. And then the lady gets pregnant and he says, you got to handle your business. And he takes off in her car to go date another woman. I knew a man, I worked with a man that got 32 women pregnant up and down the East Coast. He laughed about it. He said it was fun to spoil particularly white women. He said he loved to spoil the white women, meaning ruin them, get them pregnant and leave them, spoil that way, not spoil taking care. But in any case, karma caught up with the guy. He worked on a garbage truck. he went to a dry cleaning factory, and he let them illegally dump all of these drums of dry cleaning chemicals into his trash truck. And then, like a fool and an idiot, he packed the truck, the barrels burst, and the chemicals hit the hot exhaust pipe on the truck and blew him and the truck to kingdom come. And he's probably still burning to this day. So karma caught up with that jerk. But he was very proud about all the women that he had gotten pregnant and left. So ladies, be careful, you know. My thing is no ring. If he's not going to put a ring on it and he's staying at home watching SpongeBob in his underwear or playing PlayStation, you don't have yourself a man. You have yourself a boy. You have yourself a big boy who's going to ask you for gas money and McDonald's money, just like a little kid, you know. He's too afraid to be the high priest of his family and to take responsibility and to trust God, you know. It's all about the government's got to give everybody this, that, and the other. And, you know, why trust God since that's a fantasy anyway? It's not a fantasy. The veracity of the Bible is via fulfilled prophecy. The prophecies that are being fulfilled right now read like a newspaper. You know, Revelation, the book of Matthew, Ezekiel, all of that in the Bible is just like the news that's going on with all of the wars and the rumors of wars and all that other stuff. So that is the veracity of the Bible, the proof that the Bible is true. It says if a prophet speaks the truth, then the prophecies are going to happen. If it doesn't happen, it means he's a false prophet. And God said that that person is worthy of DEATH. That's why I take what I say seriously to guide people along the right path and back to God. I take that very seriously because I have a higher responsibility because of what I know that I try and pass along, especially to you young people. But for all intents and purposes, you're being lied to by the admin, okay? They want everybody fighting because they want to depopulate. They want to depopulate. They don't care about you. They care about themselves, and they're foolish enough to think that when this government finally collapses, that the new world order is going to want them, people who betrayed their own country, betrayed their own people, and they're foolish enough to think that that these globalists are going to want them and trust them. Nothing could be further from the truth. They're they're useful puppets on a string, and when their usefulness is over, the string gets cut and they wind up on the pile with everybody else. So, fam, you have to stay connected to God. You have to be physically fit. And you young people, this world is going to be a world of horrendous competition. You need to do whatever you can to get that word doctor put in front of your name. Go online and get that $349 degree from University of Phoenix or whatever it is. Do whatever you can do to get that word doctor in front of your name. It makes a difference. Dress differently. Don't dress like a bum. Back in the 70s, when the hippie movement started, and well, actually earlier than that, the late 60s, they said to us, we're going to tear our clothes and not bathe and grow our hair long. I was like, I'm not. I live in the richest country in the world. See, I was smart back then. I knew that all of this would make America spiral down into the dirt. I knew. We went from the most polite country, beautiful, cheap cars that you could buy, everybody prosperous and well-dressed, and all that other stuff. To my last year in school, I couldn't believe it. It was like being in a zoo. It was a wasted year. And I did well in school. I always wore a suit, jacket, or a shirt and tie, or a very nice sports shirt. I dated an African-American girl, which, by the way, back then was illegal because race mixing was illegal. It wasn't until desegregation didn't happen. It didn't happen in actuality until 1968. A group of people went to, that's what that whole movie Hairspray is based on, is Glen Echo Amusement Park in Baltimore. They took that and they made a movie out of it. And Jim Vance, the reporter, went to Glen Echo and did an article about segregation. And he's standing in the park. The park was closed. Once they desegregated it, all of a sudden the park was deemed to be a public nuisance and it was closed. When I was a kid, we went to Breezy Point Beach, white only. You went to Glen Echo Park, white only, Horrible to think people who came out of Washington riding the trolley may have needed to use a bathroom or something, couldn't get off at Glen Echo to use a bathroom like a white person, and they had to ride the trolley until they found a colored get-off where they could get off and then have to look for a colored bathroom. What a shame. And that's why America has all these problems, is because literally the sins of the father have come back to bite us in the ass. That's paraphrasing the Bible. The sins of the father going to bite you in the ass. So in any case, like I said, I dated a African-American girl. We were not allowed to go to the prom together. They picked out this weaselly, runny-nosed, little, scrawny white girl for me named Melissa, who always had a handkerchief on her red nose. Dreary girl. Her mother made me buy the $155 prom photo package. She didn't allow me to have any of the pictures. I didn't want any of them anyway. She mailed them to all her friends as proof that her plain Jane daughter got a guy for the prom, Now, my girlfriend had to date a black guy, but the whites and the blacks didn't dance together. Oh, not yet. Not yet. Okay. This thing with desegregation is not that far ago. You figure 1968 to right now is 50, 55 or 56 years off the top of my head. That's not a long time, fam. 50 years. And then the white people were like, okay, so we're not going to spray you with fire hoses or let our German shepherds bite you in the ass anymore. So we good? We good? See, I remember all this stuff because I lived it. Back when I was young, everybody was called boy. If you picked up garbage or shined shoes or bust dishes or worked landscaping, you were called boy back then. I've been called boy many, many times by my father, strangers, all of that. You would be in a restaurant and the lady would click her fingers, boy, come here, boy, I need more water. I need more water in my glass, boy. And so you're like, sure. Do you want ice cubes with your water and spit? You know, Jesse Jackson laughingly talked about how many people's food he spat into, you know. But everybody was boy back then. That wasn't unusual until three garbage men, black garbage men, on a pouring down rainy day were not allowed to go into the office of the trash company because they smelled like wet dogs, you know. Can you imagine saying that to a man, a made in the image of God man, and you're going to say, well, you're wet and that makes you smell like a dog, so you can't come in to the dry office. So what the men did was they got into the back of a garbage truck, and the trucks are idling, warming up, and these three men in the back of the garbage truck, some smart aleck came by and pulled the handle, to frighten the men. But long story short, the blade came out, hit the men. They didn't get out of the back of the truck in time. The blade came down and scooped the men into the garbage truck and packed them into the garbage truck. All right. So, in any case, after that, there was a big, big stink, and men of color marched with a sign that said, I am a man, I'm not a boy. In case you haven't noticed, I am a man. And that's where the whole thing of people saying, hey man, what's up, man? How you doing, man? That's where that came from, is those three men getting packed into a truck. So there's another thing I wanted to mention. It dropped out of my thinking. But that's the way it was back then. And it was a terrible injustice. And that's why the country is the way it is now, is that we are living the curse. The chickens have come home to roost, so to speak. But there was another incident. That's what it is. Some people have said this is an urban legend. The guy's name was Charles, I want to say Dickinson or something like that. Urban legend. He invented blood plasma and saved a lot of lives, okay? And he had a car accident in the 1950s, and he went through the windshield. Plasma inventor bled to death. Charles Drew. Okay. This is debated. It's debated as an urban legend. Dr. Charles Drew, a pioneer in blood transfusions and plasma experimentation, bled to death after being refused treatment in a white hospital. He died in a car accident on April 1st, 1950. April 1st, 1950, while traveling to a conference in Tuskegee, Alabama. He was taken to a white hospital, but they didn't have any monkey blood. Okay? So he died from his injuries shortly after. So Tuskegee was also where the government did a health and wellness. They did a health and wellness experiment on the men of Tuskegee, and they gave the men syphilis on purpose. So the men, they thought they were getting the jab, which should be a lesson to all of you. Okay, that Uncle Joe is saying need the jab to be in the military or police and all that other stuff. This is back in the 1950s. They gave these men, and Bill Clinton acknowledged it. He was the president that acknowledged the Tuskegee experiment, where they gave black men syphilis on purpose, and they went deaf and blind and all this other god-awful stuff, infected their families and girlfriends and all that other stuff. So, but this guy, Charles Drew, he was professor and chief of surgery at Howard Medical School. What a terrible loss. And that's what I think about all of the babies that are being scraped out and thrown away like seeds out of a pumpkin. How many Beethovens have we lost? You know, one person that I wanted to vote for president was the guy who ran DHS or HHS or whatever, the brain surgeon. I never remember his name, but in any case, the African American brain surgeon. African American brain surgeon, DHS. Ben Carson. Now, the reason that they said that Ben Carson could never be president was because this also is an urban legend. I have no way of verifying this. I don't necessarily believe it. But when Ben Carson was 14, he got into a scuffle and he went to stab another person, and the knife hit the other person's belt buckle and kept them from being stabbed. But the incident was reported, and so they said that kept him from being president. So I don't necessarily believe that. I believe that they just weren't ready for somebody who was a conservative, you know, like the Black Supreme Court Justice. Clarence Thomas, Clarence Thomas, and now, of course, you have Ketanji Brown, who didn't know what a woman was, couldn't define what a woman was. So all sorts of stuff going on the down low, like that. Uh, Supreme Court justice died. Uh, I'm thinking of Antonin. What was it? Antonin Scalia or whatever his name was. Barack Obama invited him down to a boys' ranch. A grown man gets invited by a liberal president who wants to replace him. That's really dumb, you know. If Barry Obama invited me someplace, I would say no, thank you. Barry, during the last White House press dinner, made reference to a red wedding. And see, Illuminatius and all of those elites, they talk in hyperbole and metaphor, okay? What he was saying, and the dumb crowd laughed, you know. He was talking about them. He said, you might be walking along and get struck down by a drone, and they all laughed. He said, no, I'm serious. I believe he was. And so he said he wanted to have a red wedding for the Republicans. And a red wedding is where you invite your enemies to a wedding. You make sure that they're satiated with lots of food and drink. And then when they're good and drunk, you bar the doors and the windows and you slaughter them. That's a red wedding. That's what he was making reference to. But see, the crowd, they don't know history or any of that other stuff. So it went right over their heads. And being the fools that they were, they laughed like they understood. Hee hee, like that. And he was talking about them. And then you had the Republicans playing baseball in a park. They got shot at. You had the Republicans all on a train together. And lo and behold, a garbage truck got pushed in front of the train, or a concrete truck, whatever it was. They almost got wiped out, you know. So these people don't play. These people don't play. And so this Supreme Court justice who Bathhouse wanted to replace takes his invitation. So, you know, Barry found out this guy likes boys. That's the long and the short of it. If you're a Supreme Court justice and you get invited to go down to a boys' ranch with teenage boys, you know, and ride horses with no shirt on and all that, and then the guy the next day, they find him with a pillow over his face, all right? They find him cold as a stone with a pillow over his face, you know. That's what he gets for going down and, you know, going down on the down low. Once honorable person going to a boys' ranch, he winds up stone cold, DEAD. He gets replaced, all right, and they don't do an autopsy, and they take care of the body toot sweet, so that there's no questions asked about it. So, like I said, fam, these people don't play. That's why, particularly, if you say you're a Christian, this, that, and the other, you do not want to be any place that you don't belong, especially with the rapture being so close and the tribulation period. You know, you don't want to be doing the sucker chuckle on the down low when Jesus comes back. So I'm checking on my medicine to see it's almost time for me to take more medicine. So I got to go. In any case, fam, to avoid this horrible hell on earth that's coming, ask Jesus into your heart, into your life. Be sincere about it. Talk to God. Ask Him to forgive you of your sins. He's faithful and just. Ask Him to fill you with the Holy Spirit, because no Holy Spirit, no rapture for you. The Holy Spirit of God does not slum. If you say you're a Christian and you're watching pornography and that doesn't concern you, or you're playing Grand Theft Auto, pushing hookers out of cars, and that doesn't bother your conscience, then you're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. And if you're that cavalier about your eternal soul salvation, then there's very little anybody can do for you. And if your heart stops and you go into eternity lost, okay, you're going to be forever burning in hell, hearing other people scream that you can't get to, thirsty, burning, falling, worms crawling in and out your nose, with every despicable smell and heat and every sad thing that ever played out in your life, being reminded, forever and ever and ever, there is no annihilation like some doctrines teach. There is no purgatory. So the time is now to get saved, fam. I have done my part as a watchman. It says if the watchman sees the sword coming and warns the people, that's on them. If the watchman sees the sword coming and doesn't warn the people, that's on the watchman. So I have done what I am charged by God to do. I've been faithful. I pray for you all. I love you all. Poppity Pops out.